clarity's sake, so that we can go have this. Now, so how they do it? What do they do with these bodies? So they made these mummies. So we've taken the time to remove Austin's organs. We took the time to stuff him with like sawdust and wrapped him up in linens and sealed it off with some resin beeswax. What do we do with Austin now? Well, in the beginning, they threw people in shallow pits, and the desert actually naturally mummified them because it had natron in it, just like how we use that salt baking soda, that natron, that salt solution that dries people out. Then we put a pile of rocks on them after wrapping them up in some like goat skin or, reeds from the Nile River. Fantastic. But remember, Pharaoh Austin wants more than that. So what we're going to wind up doing is he's going to say, I want a pyramid. So we build a big stone monument to the greatness of Pharaoh Austin, and we stuff it with all sorts of riches. What is the big problem having a big giant monument stuffed with all sorts of riches, folks? Madeline Kate knows.
The stuff you put in the pyramid you get in your afterlife.
Okay, well, that's a plus. That's a great thing. Austin wants all that stuff. But what is the problem if we have someone rich like Austin and we fill this big giant pyramid to the brim with treasures untold, things that regular people like Carson would never even imagine owning? What's the problem, Carson?
People are gonna want it. They're gonna want to steal it.
Exactly. So you and Aaron and Samuel, you bring your heads together like, how can we rob that place blind and get all of that treasure for ourselves? And then, of course, they wind up going and doing that. So they break into those pyramids. Now, of course, there are traps. So poor Aaron gets impaled with spikes, and Carson winds up ingesting poison, and then Samuel winds up going into the snake pit. So it doesn't work out for them, but people keep trying because remember, this is a giant rob me sign. We have this big pyramid to Austin and his glory. We know it's filled with stuff, and so Cypria just walks by Aaron's skeleton and says, well, I'm not going to let that happen to me, and then she's going to wind up going and getting all the treasure. Congratulations, Cypria. All right. Now, the Egyptians, they are going to wind up having to learn a lot to be able to make these amazing pyramids and to do this mummification. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. First, let's take a little detour and look at some pyramids, folks. The pyramids did not start off these perfect, amazing things. The first one that we have is the step pyramid at Saqqara. And you have to, use your imagination, because right now it looks like a bunch of rubble because, let's face it, it's 5,000 years old. It's more than 5,000 years old, really. And so with those pyramids there, it was originally all smooth. It had limestone caps. It was great. But it was basically the idea of like a layered cake. You have a big wide base, then it gets more narrow, and then more narrow, and more narrow, and more narrow. So it's a step pyramid. It's little steps. Easy peasy. So that was the first pyramid. But, and Djoser loved his step pyramid. I mean, we assume he was dead when he was put in, and so we pretend he liked it at least. So, but Sneferu said, I want something more glorious. I want it smooth and straight. So he had his people build him a straight pyramid like the ones that we're familiar with. However, they had never done it before. They start building at such an angle, they realize this thing is not going to be able to stand up. It's going to fall down. So it's bent because the architects were like, okay, how can we make this thing not fall down and be a complete disaster? Oh, that's the angle. So we see they're going to learn a lot about weight and physics and fractions and math and angles from being able to go and do these. And once again, this would originally be smooth and beautiful, but we have, thousands of years of erosion wiping it away. So now we get to the piece de resistance, our great pyramid at Giza. Now, Khufu wanted to be even more famous, more better than Djoser, more better and famous than Sneferu. So he says, I want a non-bent straight pyramid, and I want it really, really big. And so he winds up actually having this whole pyramid complex set up where there's 3 giant pyramids. There's all of these temples. There's like hundreds of tombs and temples within it. And it took over 2 million stone blocks to do. And these stone blocks, some of them are over 2,000 pounds. Like they are really, really, really heavy and really big. It took 20 years for his servants to build it and thousands of workers. Yeah. And we don't even fully know how they were able to do it. It's wild. Here we see the funerary boat that we talked about in the song, like that would take Khufu to the afterlife and all of that. And here we see it. Once again, this would be filled in with mortar and limestone, and so it would be completely smooth, like Mariah could slide down it, because we know she likes to go by Maniac Mariah. At the top was a golden cap, and it was shiny and beautiful and awesome, which probably when Mariah was sliding down it, she nabbed that first and said, ha, 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 now I'm rich. I can't believe you stole and ruined the pyramid. It's one of the ancient wonders of the world. Unbelievable. They have... I want you to look at this though. So they have a security guard here. Security guard is there because like Aaron would visit and he'd want a chunk of that. And after thousands of years of people like trying to steal parts of the pyramids, they're like, we probably should not let people do that because eventually we'll have no pyramids. But look at the size of this man. Look at the size of the block behind him. Yeah. And look, it goes up, like all of those big. So it is humongous. It is gigantic. It is incredible. It for a long time was one of the tallest buildings mankind ever made. Now, obviously, we have bigger things, but for thousands of years, this was it. This was the biggest thing. Yes, Aaron, sir.
How old is that?
Oh, goodness. I think we estimate it's around 2500 BC that it was made, and
Wow.
it's 2020, so 4,000 something years old. 4,500 years old. It's old. Some people think it's even older, but we're not going to get into conspiracy theories. We'll go with what the textbook has. All right. Yes, Karachi, darling.
Like, this would be hard to build, like, even now. Like, how did they build it back then when there was basically, like, zero technology, except for maybe a wheelbarrow? They probably didn't even have a wheelbarrow.
Yeah, and we don't think the Egyptians used wheels for this pyramid. We think they used sleds, but we don't even fully know how they did it. You might read some things where people say that aliens built the pyramids, and actually that is not a really great thing to think of, because the person who wrote that, he was basically racist and saying, well, it's because there's no way they could have done it because people... Arab people and Egyptian people couldn't do that sort of thing. So a lot of people say those kind of things, but really it's based off of not nice things. So don't listen to that craziness. The Egyptians built it. It's just how. We're not entirely sure. But ancient people were smart. And that's one of the things that we keep on finding out through history. Ancient people knew a lot of things that were pretty incredible. Here we see like the inside kind of business of it. And we have like the entrance up here. I just think this is so cool. There was a show on National Geographic last year, the year before, and they're like, we're exploring an unexplored part of the pyramid, and we're gonna have a robot go through this door that's never ever been opened and explored by people. And I was so excited. I was like, this is amazing. I can't wait to watch it. And I'm watching it. I'm watching it. And it's one of those things like, you know how shows, they kind of like drag things on. They're like, oh, let's talk about some background. And then, oh, let's have this little part right here. And it's like for the last 5 minutes of the show, they finally have the robot go through the door that's never been opened. And guess what it was? An empty room with another door. And they're like, well, I guess we'll just have to, in a couple years, check out what's in that one. I'm like, seriously? I just spent an hour watching this thing? I was so heartbroken. So heartbroken. But maybe when they have the next show and they go through the next door that no one's ever gone through, maybe it'll be something cool. I hope. Here's some more pictures of the Great Pyramids of Giza. As you see, you got your 3 big pyramids. You got another pyramid there. Like, there are so many temples and things like that, and a lot of people don't realize it. But segue. One of the things I put in your folder today. This is always like a butt. Ugh. One of the things I put in your folder today. You can go to your. What day is it? It's Wednesday, but okay.
Today's the 21st.
Anyways, and your virtual tours folder. That's right, because I originally thought we were going to only have 2 days this week, so I'll fix that. You can see I have a virtual tour thing, and you click that little thing to make it go out, and then you can go to Giza. That's right, you're going to Giza. It uses Unity, which is a game engine, and you can like walk around in these places, and it's really cool. Like here we are as soon as it loads. As soon as it loads. At the Sphinx! Whoa! Check it out. And you can walk
I
around.
saw a
the thing.
commercial for this. Like, so basically,
So did
what
I.
they did was people did like since they couldn't go to their college, they did this. They actually gotta go to their college.
Yeah. And so, and the cool thing is you can go to like, the Sphinx. You can go to, actually I want to go to the pyramid. So you can go to the pyramid like there. Like it's really, really cool. And I have that link for you, so you'll be able to check that out, Kiddaroonies. Okay? I know, it is so cool. Oh, you already did that, Ashlyn? Fine. You're just amazing. Okay? And like you can go into this underground part of the pyramid, or like it's cool. It lets you like go up. I'm gonna climb the pyramid. Whoop, 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 whoop. And now I'm inside of the entrance. Isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? Anyways, back to the notes because we have like one more slide, I think. So, what did the Egyptians figure out with all? Don't worry, it's linked. You can go there, check it out yourselves. Spend all your time there. So, because the Egyptians were embalming, they're going to learn a lot about medicine. So, them cutting people up to preserve Austin, because Austin is still our pharaoh for now. They figure out how to sew up cuts. They're like, oh, if we're going and taking everything out, we can learn how to keep things in. They also knew how to set broken bones. So if Lance is on his hoverboard and then falls and breaks his arm, they figured out how to set it to make it fix good. Can you see the old bodies? No, I don't think so. They figured out splints. Like, so when you sprain your wrist, you need to keep it straight, like the splint. That's what they had. Bandages, compresses. And they made the world's first medical books, which is really useful so that doctors can know how to do doctoring. Because we're going to talk about places in the world that don't train their doctors. And some of the things that they wind up doing is pretty horrific. And because of the pyramids, they're going to learn a ton about astronomy because these pyramids are perfectly aligned with true north, which is kind of amazing that they could do that. And they wind up having a 365-day calendar with 12 months, but only 3 seasons for them. They have the flood season, the planting season, and the harvesting season. They figured out lots with angles, how to add, subtract fractions, divide them, and have a number system based on 10. Isn't that cool? It's good stuff. All right. And so, finally, let's go and see if you guys can figure out their math. What number is this that we have right here? Who thinks they can get it? And if you think you have it, just, type it into the chat so you can type it in first. Who's our speed racer? Yes, Austin.
2,525.
You are correct. Because you got 2 of these, so 2,000. Then you got 5 of these, 500. Then you got 2 of those, 20. 5 of those, 5. Oh,
I was typing it in when Austin said it.
yeah, we got a couple speed racers. It's cool. All right, so that is our notes for the day. I'm going to turn this off